All right. Friday night, we wrap it up. Hell of a week to wrap up. Hell of a last couple of days. A lot of good stories, a lot of movement in both baseball and in Major League Baseball today. And yesterday was crazy. What's going on, Dave?
Trying to digest all the information from the trades. I haven't even bothered to look at the prospects yet. Just trying to redo my depth charts. Wow. You talk about a frenzy. This was fun. I mean, if you're a fan, regardless of the team you root for, if you're just a baseball fan, it's like, this is pretty exciting because a lot of teams making moves, and we'll see who wins out.
Why do you think it happened? Why do you think it was so busy?
Contracts, the boredom of last season when nothing happened. I think those were contributing factors, and a lot of teams that want to go for it. And why not? They should. Yep. If you've got a shot, take your shot. I have no problem with teams that are a little bit out of it saying, you know what, we're going for it right now. And good for them.
Yeah, on the show today, I pointed to the fact that, there's more playoff spots available. So there are teams, more teams have a chance to get on the dance floor. And I think the other thing is, especially if you look at the Cubs and the Nats, organizations are like, hey, if we have free agents and we're going to bail, we're going to bail. Like, we're really bail. There were so many more players. The Cubs and Nats basically just threw everyone out, made just about everyone available, and that just pushed so many more players into the market.
Yeah, and I don't understand what the Cardinals are doing. If you don't think you're in it, okay, then sell.
Right.
If you do think you're in it, then you can't go after John Lester and Jay Happ. Are you kidding? I mean, they're 75 years old between them. Neither one of them is very good anymore. Apparently, the Cardinals haven't paid attention to their stats this season because Jay Happ's been absolutely awful. And John Lester's had a hell of a career, but he's just not what he used to be. That's what you go out and pick up at the deadline? I think Cardinal fans are a little more savvy than maybe they're giving them credit for, because those are just stupid moves. A waste of time.
Yeah.
Not going to win them anything.
Worst of all, if there are players on your team who are like, why are we still here? The Rockies. What were the Rockies doing?
I'll give you here's the thing on the Rockies. Okay, Story is not having a great season. He's going to be gone at the end of the year as a free agent, but they'll get the compensatory draft pick. And I'm not sure anybody was giving them all that much because, let's face it, there were shortstops available, and Story wasn't the best one out there, that's for sure. So I think the Rockies might have looked at it and said, you know what, we're not going to deal him for junk. We'll let him go at the end of the season as a free agent, and we'll get a compensatory pick, which probably in the long run will be worth more than some organizational guys that they might have picked up. See, that's the problem I have with some of the deals that were made. For instance, like the Pirates. You're better off just keeping the guy and letting him go as a free agent. You didn't get anything in return.
Who are you talking about? Rodriguez?
Well, no, I'm the guy they traded earlier in the week. Now I'm blanking out on who it was. I can't think of who it was. There was so many, and I'm just blanking on it right now.
Who was it, audience? I'll get it here. I have the whole trade tracker too. You're not talking about Tyler Anderson.
No.
Who the hell was the major player? It's going to be obvious as soon as we say it.
Frazier.
Oh, Adam Frazier.
Adam Frazier. Okay. Nice player. He leads the league in hits. I mean, how about maybe you just try and sign him to a longer-term deal? He's a good player. He might not be he's not a Hall of Famer, but he's a good player. And the Pirates this is all the Pirates do every year. And then their fans make excuses for them, which is it's absolutely amazing to me.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you're never going to rebuild. Never. With this management. It's never going to happen. They're going to lose every season. They trade away everybody who's any good. Rodriguez is a good closer.
Right.
They got peanuts for him.
What does he have for service time? Is he 3.5 years in?
What does it matter?
No, what I'm saying.
How about you go out and sign these guys?
There's even more value when a guy's controllable.
Yeah. They're a joke. Look, I've never been a salary cap guy because the salary cap doesn't address the real problem out there, which is organizations like the Pirates, who without a salary floor are going to turn this. They turn it into a joke. And besides which, I checked this last night. In this century, if you include the year well, no, it doesn't matter. In this century, there have been 13 different teams have won the World Series. 13 out of 30 have won the World Series. So this thing about, there's no parity. Yes, there is. Good organizations win. Tampa and Oakland are small markets in terms of what they're up against. Oakland isn't really a small market, but they certainly are run like one. The entire city is run like one. So Oakland and Tampa are two hamstrung markets, and they compete every year.
Yep.
And by the way, they went out and got players again. Both of them.
There's the Pirate excuses bullshit.
It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit.
And I would think by this point, most Pirates fans aren't taking the bullshit anymore, but maybe some are. I mean, we used to, when you and I were on together.
Oh,
I mean, we had a couple of Pirate callers all the time. We'd hammer the Pirates, and they'd be like, "Oh, salary cap, it's unfair. There's no balance." Like, cut it out, guys. If you call your management on the carpet, changes may be made. You got to force their hand. If you keep going to the games and you keep buying this small market bull crap, they're not going to change.
No, and I don't think they care because they don't draw that well now.
Right.
Despite the fact they're in I've never been there, but everybody says it's the absolute state-of-the-art ballpark. And, the other two teams in Pittsburgh, I think are doing pretty well in terms of filling seats, Steelers and Penguins. I think Pirates, and they don't care. As long as they've got revenue sharing, they're going to make their money, and they'll trade off all their talent, and they'll just pocket the profits. They're a disgrace.
Stupid. I thought the White Sox had a great trade deadline because hey, if we're gonna get some relievers, let's get a bunch of relievers.
I'm gonna take a slightly opposite stance on that.
Yeah.
I didn't like the Kimbrel deal, and not that there's anything wrong with Kimbrel, but we'll see how it works out with Liam Hendricks. Liam Hendricks has been as good as any reliever in baseball the last 2+ seasons.
Right.
He's having a great year again. He's got 25 saves. And they basically just told Liam Hendricks, you're not the closer anymore. We're moving you to the 8th inning. And from a relief pitcher standpoint, it's just not the glamour. It's not the glamour job. And I wonder how that's going to set with Hendricks. And I wonder how it might set with the team. Sometimes messing with clubhouse chemistry isn't the smartest thing to do. Hendricks is a pretty popular guy there. He's got a good personality. He does lots of interviews. See him on MLB Network quite a bit. He's a fun guy, and he has performed extremely well. And how many closers do you need? So, and by the way, they gave up a really good young player in Madrigal. I know he's out for the season, but he's pretty good. I think that was the Cubs have dumped some talent. I thought they got a nice return for Kimbrel. Not that Kimbrel's a good player, but he's no kid. And by the way, he wasn't very good in the postseason with the Red Sox a couple of years ago when they won the World Series. Good thing they had Joe Kelly that year. We'll see. I thought the Cubs, I thought that was a good deal for the Cubs, getting a starting second baseman for the next several years in Madrigal. He's a nice player. Not a superstar, but he's a nice player. And I did not like the move from the White Sox. It's sometimes too much is too much. It's overkill.
What about Alex's thoughts here? That what if Kimbrel gets the 8th a bunch of times?
No, he won't do it.
What do you mean he won't do it?
Kimbrel is insistent on the 9th inning.
Tony La Russa, he'll manage this, Dave.
Well, it'll be interesting because if Kimbrel, it's the same thing. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that Kimbrel is the 8th inning guy.
Right. You
think he's going to like that?
Nope.
Ooh, no. Closers don't like being taken out of the closer role, especially when they've been doing the job. I mean, if you take Kenley Jansen out of the Dodgers closer role right now, I mean, Kenley Jansen might not like it, but he's got nobody to blame except Kenley Jansen because he hasn't been very good. I don't know what's going on tonight. Did he blow the game? No, he got out of it. He had bases loaded, 1 out in the 8th inning. I guess he got out of it. But the point is, if he hasn't been very good lately, and if the Dodgers say, we still think you're valuable, but we got to go out and get help for the 9th inning here.
Right.
I don't know that he's got much to bitch about, but Liam Hendricks certainly has done nothing to lose the ninth inning job, and neither is Kimbrel for that matter. And one of them is going to lose it, unless they're going to alternate closers. But I don't know if that's going to work either, because then you're guessing at who's going to be the guy. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not saying the White Sox are going to fall apart or anything like that. They're in the playoffs. They're going to win that division. There's no competition in that division, but we'll see if it disturbs anything there.
Yeah, I'm with Alex. I don't know. To me, if LaRusse was worth anything, then he can manage the situation. And if I could have 5 closers going to the playoffs and get them all to work as a team, then I'll do that. Like the Royals, like the Indians, like the kind of the Yankees. Yep. Came up with that formula. Not that they came up with it, but they used it effectively when they still had Wetland and they had Rivera setting him up.
And maybe Hendricks is fine with it.
Right.
I'm just saying we've seen it over the years where closers get moved out of the closer role for no reason other than they brought somebody else in, and they don't perform well. They kind of lose that edge. So we'll see what happens. I personally, I would not have, if I'm the White Sox, I would not have made that particular deal. Because I like Madrigal, but we'll see what happens. They certainly are going to be in the mix come playoff time, along with the Astros, along with the Rays and Red Sox, and we'll see who gets the wild card. The Yankees are certainly going to make a push for it, but the A's also picked up some good bodies at the deadline, not as starry and as headline makers as the Yankees did. But Oakland helped themselves, and we've seen that the A's are a very smart organization when it comes to doing little things. Maybe they don't make the most noise at the deadline, but that really help. And I like the pickups they made this week. Starling Marte certainly is a plus. The infielder they got, boy, I can't believe I'm blanking out on who's the infielder they got today.
Josh Harrison, Jay Hay.
Oh, Harrison, yeah. Nice player, good clubhouse guy too. He's going to be a plus for them. Those are good deals.
Yep. What did you think of what the Yankees did getting Rizzo and especially Gallo, and they're not paying for him, which amazes me that the Yankees have to be concerned about the salary cap. Obviously, I'm a gigantic Joey Gallo fan, so I'm thrilled that he's on the Yankees and he's controllable for another year plus.
Yeah, I think the Rangers are idiots. They're in the new ballpark. They stink beyond. I mean, they're awful. They're the worst team in the majors. Okay, they are the worst team in the majors. They're worse than the Pirates. They're worse than the Diamondbacks.
Wow.
They're worse than the Orioles. They stink. They're in a new ballpark, and they traded away their most popular guy. Good business sense there. I don't understand that at all. And they didn't, what they get for him. I thought Gallo, to me, should have been untouchable unless you get a massive haul in return. Not that Gallo's the greatest player in the world, but he's an outstanding outfielder, and he hits the ball out of the park. People will go to see him because he might hit the ball 600 feet, and you got nothing else. You got nothing else to go to the ballpark there for. There's nobody else on that team that's who. Tell me who else on the Rangers the fans want to go see. Oh, Dane Dunning when he's pitching. Who? You got to get something for that. So for the Yankees, it's great. And Rizzo will be he's a perfect fit for New York. He's got the right personality. He's a great clubhouse guy, real leadership. And by the way, he did something very valuable, which is if you're going to get traded to a New York team, you don't want to start off badly because the fans can get on you in a hurry. Well, he didn't start off badly.
Right.
And I think that's going to be a love affair between Rizzo and the Yankees.
What about the pitching ad with Haney?
I'm not much of a Haney guy. He just has too many command issues. Maybe somebody can fix him because he's got pretty good stuff. But he has not developed. He hasn't improved since he arrived with the Angels. He will still give you the games where it's like, geez, this guy's good. And then the next game, he'll give up 5 runs. I think he's a back of the rotation guy. And maybe their hope is, let's see if we can turn him into a 5-inning pitcher and then hand it off to the bullpen. Or if he does not produce, then you got a lefty guy to pitch some late inning stuff.
Right. I like what Tyon's done recently. He's looking
much better.
Good. So
He's pitched very well lately. And, Tyon missed a lot of time. So I think he had quite a bit of ring rust to get rid of. And he's clearly pitched a lot better over the last month. And that's important for the Yankees because they need starting pitching. That's for sure.
Red Sox, were they active enough?
Schwarber is a really good fit for Fenway Park. And it looks like, from what I gather, they're going to make him a first baseman right away. Not going to waste any time. It's like, get your feet wet. They don't need him in the outfield, obviously. They don't need him as a DH because they got J.D. Martinez. First base has been, I think this is pretty common knowledge, first base has been the problem position for them all year. Dalbec's a nice prospect, but he just strikes out too much, and he's not really ready at this point. And Schwarber, look, he's a streaky guy, so he can go bad at times, but he gets rolling. He could turn Fenway Park into a playground, a personal playground, because he can go the opposite way, which brings the Green Monster into play, and he can use the short porch in right field. And I think he'll love playing first base because, quite frankly, he's never been much of an outfielder anyway. And they're making him he can play first base there for the next several years. I think that's going to work. So that would be a good pickup for them.
Why did the Cubs bail on him? On Schwarber?
I don't know.
I mean, why not keep the guy around? If you know, I was going to say, if you keep him around, whatever, 3 years, $45 million. I mean, I think he got what, a 1 year, $11 million deal for from the Nats this year.
I guess he kind of stalled in Chicago, and maybe it was just time to get him out of there.
But he had a good year. Was it 2 years ago? And then obviously this year, who cares?
Yep. And he got red hot. He was not good early in the season with the Nationals, but he got red hot. And again, he's very streaky. I mean, he might end up hitting 230. But when he's on one of his rolls, he's an absolute monster. I don't know where they're going to put him in the order. They might, I don't know what they're going to do. But wherever they put him, he should help them. And that's going to be fun because the Red Sox are good and the Rays are very good. And Glasnow's coming back soon, and that's going to help them even more. And the Yankees are not out of it yet. And neither are the Blue Jays, by the way, who also were very active at the deadline and helped themselves with some pieces they could use, particularly in the back end of the bullpen, which they really needed.
Who's gonna close there? They had Romano come out tonight. Hand led into it.
I think Brad Hand eventually. Yeah, they want Hand to close.
Right.
He's been inconsistent this year, but we'll see what happens. And Romano's been a little better lately, but Barrios is the important pickup for them.
What a get, and he's controllable.
Yep. I understand.
What a heartbreaker for the Padres. Every big name starting pitcher they went after, the Dodgers basically squashed them. They're like, sorry, that was cute that you're trying, but we're taking him. And Barrios was that was a rough one.
Yep. And then Tatis gets hurt again tonight. It's the same issue he's had, so I'm expecting that he won't miss too much time, but that's going to be a concern. No, this has not been a good week for the Padres. And by the way, from the standpoint of the Twins, I'll give them. I think they may have tried to deal him, but I think they at least was smart enough to say, you know what? Unless we get exactly what we want, we're not dealing him, and that's Byron Buxton. I know he gets hurt a lot, but that guy is uber talented. He's a great player, moving into his prime. And if you're a Twins fan, you should be thanking your lucky stars they didn't make a deal, because that's the guy you build around if you're the Twins. And they've got some good prospects on the way up. So Twins are having a really bad year, but their future might not be so bad.
Yeah, by the way, for CJ Cards fan on Schwarber, like I said, last year, who gives a shit? The shortened season and COVID and all that nonsense. Schwarber was 250 and 38 homers 2 years ago, and he was 238 and I think 26 the year before that. So
yeah, don't go by the batting average.
And
batting average just doesn't mean much anymore. Okay, it's you got guys who are hitting 240, but if they're producing, that's what they like in today's baseball.
He walks. And this year's walks are a little bit down, but
best
years in Chicago, it was what 356 and 340 OBP. Not unbelievable, but not terrible.
No, but there's a reason guys like Carlos Santana, and Yasmani Grandal are still in demand. They might not hit for average, but they're on base constantly because they got good eyes and draw a lot of walks. OBP is more important than batting average. Batting average is it's kind of a bullshit stat. It's like wins and losses.
Right.
I mean, you're not really determining much value out of wins and losses anymore. If you're still keeping track of that, it's like
right.
You're living in the past. And batting average is just OPS is important. OBP is important. BA, I don't even look at it. I can't tell you what these guys are hitting outside of the fact that we use it in my fantasy league. So I still look at it from that standpoint, but that's just fun stuff.
We switched in 2 of our leagues to on base.
I would like to do that in my 2 auction leagues, but everybody's so old, I don't think they'll do it.
Apparently, I didn't pay attention to it because I have a National League team. I'm in last place and on base at 308.
Ooh, that's bad.
That's not good. No, it's not good.
No.
My softball
Cubs don't
line.
want to pay anybody.
Yeah,
that's not true. I think the Cubs looked at this and said, "Our window's closed. We need to rebuild." And if you're going to rebuild, this is the way to do it.
You
dump. You don't pick and choose. And quite honestly, I think Baez is an overrated player. He's very exciting. I'll give you that. He really is exciting, but it's kind of overrated. Rizzo, good chance he was going to leave anyway. Bryant, excellent chance he was going to leave anyway. In fact, I don't know Chris, so I'm not giving you any information that is firsthand here, but let's just say the information that has made the rounds here in Las Vegas is that he kind of likes the idea of being closer to home, West Coast, which, by the way, is where he is now. And again, I don't know that to be true because I don't know Chris Bryant. I don't know anybody in his family, but I've talked to people who do have a little more information as far as that goes than I do. And that's been kind of the majority viewpoint. And you look, the reality is the Cubs won a World Series. They did what they were supposed to do. And now they're going to try and rebuild again. And they've got the wherewithal to do it in quicker order than most teams. Right. So you might very well see the Cubs active in the free agent market this winter, looking for a new guy, a new nucleus to build around. They're not stupid,
Yeah. What else was someone was saying earlier on fantasy? Batting average in fantasy can kill you because there are limited guys that hit 300 plus. Yep.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who. Obviously, this is a big fantasy week. Especially with pickups and trade deadlines coming up. As an example, I have Brandon Nimmo on the Mets, and like he scores runs and he's hitting around 300. But my God, like homers, RBIs, just nothing. I might just dump him, and he'll. I'm sure the rest of the league will be like, "What are you doing?" But at some point, down the stretch, Dave, you only have so many spots in fantasy baseball. And if you're trying to go for it, sometimes you got to cut guys who are a little higher in salary if they're not producing.
I'll give you a quickie on my American League team, which kind of tells you how this season is going for me in this particular league. So I made a deal this week, and I wanted to unload Jesus Luzardo. So it's like, because I had him, he's a $23 contract. Okay, so it's like, and I managed to make a deal in which Luzardo was included. So it's like, oh, good, I got him off the roster. So naturally, he gets traded to the National League, and the $23 I would have picked up in fab money
goes.
That goes to the guy who just traded. I traded him to, who happens to be in first place. It's like, you gotta be kidding me. Yeah.
Yeah. Our I don't know what do you guys do if someone hasn't spent a lot of their free agent money, they lose guys to the other league. Do you go actually above the original limit?
No,
because we do that.
No,
our first place team lost Rizzo. We start out the year with $100 in free agent money.
Yes. I think it. You know what? I don't know.
That team now has $107 to spend.
I don't know. I actually don't know the answer to that because this league is active enough so that nobody doesn't spend something. And especially because of all the injuries in baseball this year with the 10-day IL, it's like you have to go out and, even if it's picking up $2 players to fill your roster, you got to do it. But I could have used that $23.
Oh yeah, But you know,
Well,
there
I mean,
sometimes you have years where you have almost no injuries, and you actually in the first half you don't have to spend anything. You're
my
lucky, and you don't have to make any moves.
well, my American League team wasn't great to begin with this year because I lost a lot of guys. Contract expired,
Right.
and I'd had a pretty good run in that league. My NL team has been completely ravaged by injuries. I put this on Twitter, I think yesterday. I basically don't even have to check my daily lineup anymore because I can't fill it.
That's amazing.
I've got injured. I've just got injured guys that are just staying out there. I can't. I have no way to fill a lineup. So I've got like Nick Castellanos is still in my outfield on a daily basis, even though he's not playing. It's been comical in that league. I was in first place in that league, and I've dropped to fourth, basically because
injuries.
I'm playing like 18 guys a day on a 25-man roster.
So, I mentioned Brandon Nimmo. Do you think the Mets, I mean, you already know that DeGrom is a risk down the stretch. Is trading for Rich Hill and then counting on Carlos Carrasco to come back really kind of taking your place in the division seriously? Is that's going to be your pitching? That's your pitching?
I don't know about Rich Hill, but I think they are counting on Carrasco, and he looked good tonight while he was out there.
Yeah.
And he's talented. I don't think they realized, or I don't think they were expecting the bad news on DeGrom today.
All right.
Now, setback today, and now he's out until at least September.
By the way, we talked about this. I think
bad.
on the speculation that Baez might go to the Mets, we talked about this last week.
Yep.
Would you now give Baez like $275 million and invest like $600 million in these two guys?
Not me.
Yeah, I would.
I'm not as big a Baez fan as most people. I think he's fun to watch. Very exciting player. He's got speed. He can make spectacular plays in the outfield. He can hit the ball 9,000 feet. But he's also not a great defender overall.
Right.
And he can go through some fearful slumps. And by the way, he swings and misses. He has never learned to command the strike zone, which I think has hurt his overall production. He's still a pretty easy guy to whiff. So I'm not as don't get me wrong. I don't want anybody to think that that I think Baez is lousy. He's not. But the conversation, there's two shortstops in particular who, if you turn the clock back 2 years, how many MVPs are these guys going to win? And the answer is zero. Baez and Gleyber Torres. They've either stalled or gotten worse in the case of Torres. And Torres, I got to tell you, his approach at the plate just isn't very good. Maybe he'll get better now that he's surrounded by more talent. Maybe they can coach him up or something like that. But jeez, God, he's trying to pull everything. And he's a gap. I think he's one of these guys who thinks that he's a 40 home run guy. And he's not. Right. He's a gap to gap guy. He should not be trying to pull everything. Use the whole field. Let somebody else hit the ball out of the park. There's no excuse for Torres hitting at the level he is. And I think it's impacted his defense as well, because quite frankly, he's been shitty at shortstop.
All right. Well, the Braves added a bunch of outfielders.
Yep.
Right. Added to the bullpen with Rodriguez. Phillies went out and, hey, Kyle Gibson's been great. Ian Kennedy might be their closer, or at least a left-right closer combination with this Ranger Suarez kid. So who's going to win the NL East?
I think the Mets will win the NL East.
You think they're going to hold them off?
I think the Braves have a chance to get him, but we'll have to see how the starting pitching holds up, which is dicey. Ian Anderson not pitching the way they hoped he would, and he's gotten hurt. Soroka's out for the season. Max Fried, who is a really talented left-hander, has been very inconsistent. So they did help the bullpen, and they had to do what they had to do to replace Acuna, which they can't really do, but they at least made some moves to try and compensate. But I don't know that I think the Mets might be a little bit better than they are. The question is, can the Mets hang on through August and then get DeGrom back? And they might get Syndergaard back for something in September. I don't know that he's going to start, but even if they can use him here and there as a reliever, that could be a plus. And Carrasco's really important. The other thing, though, is they've got to get Taijuan Walker straightened out, because he was really good, and now all of a sudden he's really bad. And if you watch him, basically scrapped his slider in the last start because it was awful, and went to a curveball, and that's always a little dicey. Marcus Stroman's been solid, but he's not a number one starter. So somebody's going to win the division, but I don't know that when you look at whoever comes out of the NL East, it's like, okay, goodbye come playoff time, unless DeGrom's healthy, in which case that could be wins right out of the gate for the Mets. But the Brewers look like they're better with their pitching, it really is outstanding. And you've got 3 very good teams in the NL West, and the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants.
Can we talk about the you tell me if I'm wrong on this, but can we talk about the other elephant in the room with the Phillies, with Aaron Nola and this vaccine bullshit? And it seems, I swear to God, every 4 days they're like shuffling guys back and forth from the majors to AAA and putting a guy on the list. And he got COVID himself.
Yep.
He missed games. He's not going to get the vaccine. Another one of these. It's a personal decision thing. But like, bro, you're screwing up the team.
Well, if you're asking me, I think MLB is probably. I don't know how this would work with the union. Whether they can, I don't think they can do it right now because of collective bargaining. But I think it's going to be on the table in the off season. Is that if something like this occurs,
right,
we are going to be able to mandate that you get a vaccine. We can't tell the future. I have no idea what things are going to be like next spring. But I think that's going to be something that'll be negotiated in the CBA because the owners sure don't like it. It's not good for them. And there are probably a lot of players who don't like it as well. Okay? I'm talking about vaccinated players who might be saying, hey, what are you doing?
You go on the road and we got to follow the rules of the unvaccinated. We can't go out. I mean, at some point that creates some dissension in the ranks.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, it's created dissension. Forget baseball. It's creating dissension here in Nevada.
Yep.
Because essentially, vaccinated people are going to have to wear masks to protect the unvaccinated. That's the way it is. Now, after what happened in Provincetown today, who knows? I don't know if anybody read this, but they had an outbreak in Provincetown, Massachusetts. And of the recorded cases, more than 70% were vaccinated people. So it looks like the Delta variant is kind of fucking everything up.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't know. So all I can do is digest information and go from there. It sounds like, and I don't mean to, and again, I'm not an expert on this, but it sounds like there's probably going to have to be a booster at some point. So that'll start another round of arguments. Where I am worried from a selfish standpoint is that I think we might be heading to another year of issues in college football with potential cancellations or, in the case of the Mountain West and other conferences, forfeits. Because the Mountain West has ruled this, if you can't field a team, we're not rescheduling the game, you lose.
And let's mention real quick, Dave, the Mountain West, as of Mountain West Conference Media Day, seems to have kind of a big split in terms of attitudes amongst the programs.
Yep.
There were, at the time, 7 programs that were above 85%. And then there were other programs that weren't there yet. And it was interesting to see that Steve Addazio, Colorado State coach, and they had a lot of problems last year.
Boy, did they ever.
Yep. With COVID. He wasn't at Mountain West Conference Media Day. So, but yeah, Craig Thompson, it's one of the, I'm not the biggest fan. It's one of those times with Craig Thompson, I was like, whoa, okay. Leadership.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the way it should be.
Like if the game's not played on the day and the time, we're not moving it. It is a forfeit.
And we saw reasons for that last year because what happened to a couple of teams who got stuck rescheduling games really hurt them.
Yeah.
I mean, it really hurt them. Was it BYU that had to play? Was it BYU that had to play a makeup late in the season and they blew the game? I don't have my stuff in front of me, but there were a couple of teams. I can't think of one. It was one of the smaller leagues. They had to play a game. It was somebody in the Mountain West, actually. Okay.
Are you mixing basketball with football? Because basketball.
No. Was it? Okay. Yes. Right. You're right. I am because if I don't have
Colorado State,
but that was completely unfair.
Yeah, Colorado State effed itself and
completely unfair.
Yeah.
And I think that those teams have a right to say, wait a minute, you're the ones who pulled out of a game. We didn't. We followed the protocols. We were healthy. Tough shit for you. And that's the way it should be. And I think every conference should adapt that this year. But from my personal standpoint, this is part of the reason I haven't played any games early. I don't know who's going to be playing come game day in September. Because if you think this is going to go away all of a sudden, you're wrong. It's not. It looks like it's going to get worse. And we get to November, who knows what's going to happen. I'm not trying to be pessimistic or the purveyor of doom.
Man.
It's just the reality of the
Heads
situation.
up. Yeah, it's a heads up. It's not going to be easy to get through the college football season without more of a mess. I think I know the answer to this one. Cruiser was saying, Dave, what would you do if they made you get the vaccine to play or work?
I'd get the vaccine.
You would get the vaccine.
You don't have much choice, do you?
Yep. Apparently,
apparently
there are people who listen. We've been updating people on what's going on in sports. For me to work around UNLV to go and travel with the team and go cover these games on the road, basketball and football, fully vaccinated. That's it. Yeah. Zero tolerance. You got to be fully vaccinated. And I'm going to start trying to get out to Raiders practice once a week. Got to be fully vaccinated to be in the facility. And you also have to take a test every 2 weeks. So,
no, but in fairness,
I want to do my job. Got to do it.
That should also apply to the team.
Well, I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if you
can't make a set of rules for the media and then not have the same set of rules for the team, the players that work there.
Apparently, can because I know there's a U.S. swimmer who's been showing up, without a mask on, and the media's like, "What the fuck's going on here?"
And he's not vaccinated either.
He's not and then today he shows up. He's got a mask on. The PR person has a mask on. Someone asked a question like, "Hey, why he's got one on today? What's going on?" And then they walked out.
Yeah.
So, for the PR person, get your shit together. Come on.
It's kind of like this as far as would you get it for your job? Well, I mean, the employer gets to decide. If you don't like it, go get another job.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't collect unemployment, by the way, if you quit because of that. That's not a qualifier for unemployment. Sorry. So, for companies that are putting that, that's the way it goes. They get to make their own rules. Okay. It's kind of like I went to the grocery store, not the grocery store, whatever, the 7-Eleven or Green Valley Grocer.
Right.
It was Green Valley Grocer. I got to put the mask on to go back in the store. It's their rule. Okay. That's the way it goes. If I don't like it, then I guess I got to go to another store. I have no problem with it. It's just a minor inconvenience. I keep a mask in the console of the car. So if I got to go into Green Valley Grocer, I'll put my mask on. I'm sorry. It's just not that big a deal to me. If you want to see me get upset, what comes out of my bank account every quarter for my quarterly taxes, because I do pay each quarter, that kind of upsets me a little bit because it's a shitload of money. Okay,
right?
Because I mean, I don't have 9 million write-offs, so I got to pay. That if you think I'm going to be bothered by a mask when I'm paying X amount of dollars each quarter, you're nuts. Okay, I'd rather have the money. If you give me a choice of freedom to not wear a mask or freedom to keep the money that I pay each quarter in taxes, I think I know the answer.
Got to buy more masks. Maybe that's a write-off.
They're not very expensive, though.
You got to buy whatever
even,
the price.
Even the logoed ones. Even my Golden Knights mask, which I think I got, I think there was like $35 for 3 of them. But they look good.
Now that's a segue. That was a segue.
That was half intended, by the way.
Give me your take, and this could be for the audience. Are you more upset that Ryan Reeves is gone from the Golden Knights, or are you more upset that Stormy Bonatoni is gone from the Golden Knights?
Well, I'll have to say Stormy. I think Ryan Reeves did a great job out here. But his play fell off in the second half of this year. And he is not getting any younger.
Yeah.
And that's the way things go in the NHL and in every sport. Players are valuable until they're not that valuable anymore. I hope I've never met Ryan. I hear he's a great guy. And I hope that when he's done playing, he's got a business that I think is flourishing out here, his beer business.
Yep.
And I hope he comes back out and makes Las Vegas his permanent residence. He's, to me, he's a Vegas guy at this point, and so is Marc-Andre Fleury. I hope he comes back out here when he officially retires and makes Las Vegas his home. More people like that, the better here in Las Vegas. But from a personnel standpoint, I mean, he's replaceable at this point. Stormy was really good. I assume she's got a great new gig. I don't know what it is, but she'll do well.
Brady was saying, was Sinbin wrong to break the Stormy news before she announced it? Seemed dickish.
No, it's their job. If you have breaking news, it's not up to the person to announce it. It's up if somebody has information on it, they're supposed to break it.
Right.
Now, the idea, however, is if it had been a situation where Stormy was being let go by the team, that's not the case, obviously. But if she were being let go by the team and found out about it on social media, that would be wrong. And that's the one thing where I have a problem with the Golden Knights and their handling of Fleury. There is no way that should have been done. Marc-Andre Fleury should have been the first person contacted, even before the deal went down.
Well, he was.
Should have said.
Well, he was.
But
he was informed along the way that these teams were interested, and McCrimmon said we couldn't tell him early that day. It got leaked before the deal was officially done.
Well, then make sure it doesn't get leaked.
But if it gets leaked by the Chicago side, what do you do?
Well,
where do you, in the audience, where do you fall on this? Because I've heard both sides. I thought when Alan Walsh,
you can't send him a text right at that point. Okay, the deal's done, and you just text him. I mean,
McCrimmon said it hadn't become official with the NHL office. Here's the thing, Dave. You're right.
I'm not buying it.
You're right. You would think after all the bad PR the Knights have gotten that they're going to do everything they can to get this one right. But I also don't trust Fleury's agent, Alan Walsh, because I think he's a bit of a drama queen.
Text Fleury himself. Fuck the agent, okay?
No, I don't mean that part. I mean the fact that Walsh put it out and he's like, well, apparently he's been traded. They haven't told Marc-Andre. Like, dude, cut it out.
I don't care what the agent says.
We all knew this was coming. Stop. Okay,
right.
you're creating a shitstorm on the way out.
I've still always had this goes back to the John Robinson firing at USC. I've always had a problem with this. Mike Garrett fired him on a voicemail, not a voice, on a. We didn't have voicemail back then.
Mike Garrett, Jesus Christ!
He fired him on a recorded message.
So bad.
And I remember talking with J. Rob about it when he was here. I even remember where it was. It was at a Brazilian restaurant where we were having a media day for the bowl game. And he said that Garrett's excuse was and again, this is way before social media. Okay. He left it on the phone. He could have driven over. It was like 10 minutes. They lived about 10 minutes away. He didn't drive over because he thought Robinson might be busy.
Oh my God.
That was the excuse he gave him.
What a freaking creep.
Yeah. And I kind of lost a lot of respect for Mike Garrett. And I've always been a John Robinson fan anyway. And that was just like, Jesus. J. Rob's a great guy. He is a great guy and one of the all-time. I'm just I know he wasn't here at UNLV that long, but those were some pretty good times. And we made a bowl game and actually won it. Beat Arkansas. That was pretty good. That's about the high point for UNLV football in like forever.
Yeah. AJ going back to McCrimmon says that was a bullshit excuse. So he thinks McCrimmon and the organization screwed it up.
I'm on that side of it. Yeah. I think you find a way to make sure that Marc-Andre Fleury is the first person that knows about it. Even if you say, look, we're really close on a deal, so stay tuned. Okay? I just don't think it's that difficult. I understand other factors entered into it, but to me, you go out of your way with a Marc-Andre Fleury to make sure it's handled right. Maybe not with other guys, but Marc-Andre Fleury has been the face of this franchise for his 4 years. There's nobody more popular in Las Vegas as far as the hockey team goes, and maybe as far as all the sports teams goes, than Fleury. I mean, they got to retire his number. It'll certainly be the first number retired by the Golden Knights, and he's just totally beloved in this town. So I think you handle Fleury differently than you handle maybe any other player. No offense to Ryan Reeves, but if Ryan Reeves finds out about it on social media, well, all right, it's probably not ideal, but Fleury's, you just don't do that with guys who are basically legends at this point. And in this city, Fleury is a legend.
So, Dave, I got to get your take on the way the fans reacted from an emotional standpoint. Some people are saying, hey, this is not a hockey town. They're more into the player than they are to the team. What do you think when people say that?
No, the players come and go. I mean, if that was the case, then people would have stopped showing up at other teams' games years ago.
Right.
No, I mean,
what I'm saying is that people say this is not a great sports town. It needs to mature. It needs to understand what pro sports are all about.
Most of the people who live here are from someplace else.
Oh, look at that!
Pro sports teams. So
look at that. Yeah,
kind of ridiculous.
Interesting. No, interesting.
And by the way, I think we get all the sports on TV here. So even for those people who are born out here or have lived here for most of their lives, you're either a sharp sports fan or you're not. Okay. Yeah. It kind of comes down to that. No, I don't buy into that.
Well, last night I saw our buddy Wes Reynolds, and I like Wes. He's cool. Wes said, I get the attachment to players, but it shows that Vegas still has some maturing to do as a pro sports town. I'm from Indy, and they let Peyton freaking Manning go, who was the biggest star ever in the city, and eventually people move on. And I responded to it. I was like, Wes, stop with the lecturing, please. First of all, I don't need people from Indy lecturing us here in Vegas. And Dave's point is the most important point. Many of the people here have been through this already. So we don't need to mature. This was a special case where people love this guy. They feel like the Knights have jobbed 3 or 4 different players and coaches in the past. It's built up. But again, I don't need this constant. And there's a lot of people in the media who do that here. And they're like, oh, Vegas as a sports town is this and that. And it's like, we all were around pro sports before we got here. We all have teams before this. Cut it out.
And by the way, let me ask, let's say Detroit Tiger fans, was it worth holding on to your stars for too long and being absolutely awful for what is now basically a decade? Yep. Because that's what happened there. They wouldn't move. They wouldn't move any of their veterans who all got old and all broke down. And they've still got one of them there, Miguel Cabrera, who has been a little better lately, but he's not exactly what he used to be. It hurt the franchise. And I think it might have hurt attendance too, because what's more important than the players you keep or the players you let go is whether you win games or lose games. If you win games, you're going to get fans in the stands. If you lose, you might not. So if the Golden Knights fall off in terms of popularity, it'll only be because of one reason, that they stopped winning games. Mm-hmm. Now, that might be the measure of how good we are as a sports town.
I think it
comes when they're not very good.
I actually think it makes Dave. I think it makes us a great sports town. We're not going to tolerate nonsense.
No,
win. These other markets that continue to you just 20, 30 minutes ago, you just had a whole diatribe on the Pirates, and I know their attendance is down, but in cities where for some reason it's tolerated, you don't light a fire under the ownership. And there's no doubt in my mind they may not be doing it right, at every turn. And I still don't like moving Fleury and keeping Leonard, but whatever. We'll see how it works out. But because there is such a entertainment demand here. If you're not winning or you're not providing good entertainment, people will not show up. There's nothing wrong with that.
No. Especially, by the way, especially at the prices that are charged for Major League Sports these days. Yep. It's really expensive. Okay, most people actually can't afford to go to a Golden Knights game.
Yep.
So you better satisfy the ones that are paying.
Dave, the fact that I and many people are still Jets fans, we are assholes. I am an asshole. I will fully admit that. I am an idiot. I should have moved on freaking 10 years ago. And I keep doing this. What am I doing? I'm an idiot. And the Jets know there are lots of idiots who follow them. So it's like, this isn't something to be proud of.
No, I'll disagree a little bit with Cruiser's comment. Cubs are back to being the lovable losers. When you love your team, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. I think those days are gone with the Cubs. I don't think there's going to be, I think there'll be some tolerance for a rebuild as long as it's not one of these 8-year rebuilds. Cubs fans have gotten, look, I come from an organization that, believe me, we did nothing but lose when I was growing up, the Red Sox. Okay. They did nothing. They finished last or next to last for, I think it was 9 straight years. That's really bad. And then 67 came and Dick Williams pulled off the impossible dream. They got to the World Series. And from that point on, Red Sox fans weren't content with, oh, let's go out and see the ball game and have some fun. It's like, you better win. Okay. Yep. We want wins. And they don't tolerate losing. Mental attitudes change among fans. I don't think Cubs fans will ever go back to accepting being lovable losers. They might still show up at the games because it's fun to go to Wrigley Field and have some beers and sit outside in day games. It's a lot of fun. The ambiance is definitely something special there. But I got to tell you, if you go through a prolonged period of losing, you'll start to get empty seats. Okay? They even get them in Boston. They're winning again this year. But early in the season, they'd open the stands back up, and there were some games that weren't sellouts at Fenway Park.
Yeah.
Wonder why? Because they sucked last year. They sucked beyond belief. And there was some thought that, well, this team's not much fun to go. Well, we want to see a team win. We're spoiled now.
I love that.
There's nothing wrong with being spoiled and demanding attempts to win for your franchise.
And you mentioned it 2 minutes ago. What they charge at these games for everything, the tickets, the parking, the drinks. I don't have to go watch you rebuild. Then lower all the prices.
No, I think Angels fans for some reason are satisfied with mediocrity, which is all they get out there. Despite the fact, you've got marquee guys and Ohtani and Trout, but how about you win some games? And here they are. They're stuck at 500 again. They're not going anywhere. They sold off a couple of pieces at the deadline. So they're done for another season. And Angels fans seem to tolerate it. And I'm not sure why. I guess because they've got Trout and Ohtani. I guess that's it. But I don't know. If I'm a fan, I want to see wins.
Yeah.
I want to see a team that's in the race. Not maybe they're not going to be in the race every year, but you got to be in it once in a while.
It's inexcusable to not be within wild card contention with Trout and Ohtani. Every year you should be. If you can't win 83 games every year in Major League Baseball and then approach 87 with those two guys, shame on you.
Well, and here I'll give you a good example. Now, for years on my San Diego trips, I always go to the Padres games, and it was, I could get the best seats in the house at face value. Okay, it was a cinch. You had half the fans that were there to root for the other team. And the other, we'll just go out. It's a nice place to hang out. Petco's a beautiful ballpark, and the team sucks, but there was nobody there. You're getting 12, 13,000. In terms of real, actual, I don't know what the paid attendance was, but in terms of actual fans in the stands, 10 to 12,000. There were lots of good seats. You could buy a cheap seat and move to someplace good by the third inning because those seats weren't getting filled. Can't do that anymore.
No.
You know why? Because they're winning. Now they're a viable team. Tickets are tough to come by. If I want to go to a Padres game this year, I'm not sitting behind home plate for face value. I can tell you that. Those days are done.
Yep.
So I kind of wish, since I'm not a Padres fan, I kind of wish they'd go back to sucking again because then I could get seats right behind home plate for face value or less. That was great. I can't do that anymore.
Yep.
You can do it with the Diamondbacks, though.
Winning, yeah, you can. You certainly can. But winning, achieving, hope. People will pay big money for that. But you're not going to do it over and over again.
That's the new strategy, by the way. Probably starting next year. If I want to go see a ball game and get real good tickets, cheap. I'm heading to Phoenix. It's not that far, and there's going to be lots of good seats available at Diamondbacks games every single game.
Have you been there?
Oh, yeah. Nice
Okay.
ballpark. I don't think it's
Yeah.
quite at the level of Petco. I don't think it's certainly not at the level of whatever they call the ballpark in San Francisco now. I don't care about the corporate names, but it's a beautiful ballpark. It's nice in Phoenix, but the ballpark isn't as nice as the others, and quite honestly, it's not as good for after the game entertainment. I mean, San Diego it's just great. That is, I mean, San Diego, you might not be able to beat it.
Ridiculous.
Oh, it's awesome. The gas lamp is just. I don't care how old you are. I mean, I'm 68 now, so I'm no kid. But the gas lamp is still an absolute blast. And there's plenty of places for people my age to hang out there after the games, and have a nice cappuccino sitting outside or something like that, because I'm not into the clubs anymore. But it's fun for all ages in San Diego before, during, and after the game. And now they're winning. Diamondbacks, not so much. But I still like to go see ball games and get really good seats and not be – I don't like being in the middle of 45,000, to be honest with you. I'm not crazy about that. So I think the Diamondbacks will probably get some business from me in the next year or two because they're not going to be good. Could fly to Denver, too.
That stadium's really nice, and the scene around the stadium is really cool.
Lake Street, is it? Yeah, I haven't been there, but I've been told that, yeah, that's a good spot. Go to the ball game and lots of good things to do after the game. And Denver I've been to Denver, and it's a great city. I can see why it's been voted as one of the best cities to live in. It's pretty nice there. And one other thing that's really nice about Denver, I know they get snow, but it's gone the next day. It just melts right away. They don't even need snow plows there. So that's the kind of snow I can put up with.
All right, good deal. We'll wrap it a little early tonight. I appreciate the time, Dave.
That's always a pleasure.
Yes. When do you said you're going to, well, you didn't say you're not working on college football. You just may not.
No, I've got all my numbers done.
You may not bet it early.
I don't see the point in betting. And look, this happened to me on numerous occasions last year where I bet games on Monday or Tuesday and the game got canceled. And two things happened. One, from a sales standpoint, that all those people get their money back or credits. So that's a pain in the ass. And just from my personal betting standpoint, it's like I don't replace games. In other words, if I have a game that I like and it gets scratched, it's like, well, I'm just going to go to the next game on the list. That's not the way it works. And I lost what I thought were some really good spots last year because the games never got played. And I'm worried about the same thing happening again. And one thing I decided to do is not bet early this year because it was just too uncertain. The worst was I bet Virginia Tech in a game early last season. Bet them on Monday or Tuesday. I don't remember which. And then Friday rolls around and they get 25 guys out. My bet's dead. Okay. I don't want to go through that anymore. Pass. So I'll wait. And if it means I have to sacrifice a half point or a point of value, so be it. I do that in baseball all the time. I'll sacrifice a dime. I want to know what's going on. So I don't put baseball games out. I don't put them out overnight anymore. There's too many pitching changes. Got guys there's load management now in baseball, which I can't stand. It's not as bad as the NBA, but it's there. So I wait until the morning to post my games now. And hasn't hurt. I mean, I'm having a pretty good season. So
good deal. All right, Dave, have a good weekend. Thanks, AJ. Appreciate the pop saying we need the show 3 times a week. You can see Dave all the time on Wager Talk. WagerTalk.com. Yes. They're doing videos just about every morning. And we'll be back here next Friday night in some form or fashion.
And in the meantime, you can have fun roaming around that awesome Yankee man cave that you're in.
I'm going to hang some more memorabilia. I have more stuff. And I'm going to vacuum my carpet. That carpet looks a little dingy.
Nice. I'm going to go. Let me see if